Hello, and welcome back to this playthrough of the solo version of The Other Side of the Hill from NAC Wargames. Well, it's when we last left off, the situation in Russia had pretty nearly fallen apart, and I'm feeling very strongly like I may have held on to territory too long, and I should have been retreating and sort of earlier to avoid reductions. But so I have a feeling that the collapse is going to come rather quickly here because I don't have a lot defending here. One thing that got pointed out in early video, or in some of the early videos that got posted, is that I made a mistake here in Poland. I moved my army out of Poland, but because of that resistance marker there, I had to leave I should have left an army there. So similar to the mistake I made here, where I did not correctly notice the stacking limit. I had more armies over here than I should have. I will fix that this turn. Probably I'll fix it during the move phase, or during the reinforcements phase. I'll get an army there, just to make up for that. But I apologize for blowing that. And then I also made a mistake here early on when I advanced twice through these rough terrains, but you can't get a second advance in rough terrain, only in rivers and plains. So I really didn't actually succeed with my Fallblau 2 initially, and that's fine. I still think based on, I have no experience with the game, but based on what I'm looking at here, this looks like I could be in a lot of trouble. So we are in summer of 1944, and I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Russian attacks. We might see another landing here could be more in Italy, could be an overlord, who knows. But I think this is going to turn against me rather quickly here. So, bombing of Germany, nothing happens because I still have that at 5. I don't know that I'm going to be able to maintain that much longer. Replacements. So my resources are down to 12 now. Oof. Okay. Replacements, I get 2 Wehrmacht replacements. So first, I'm going to replace this with a regular army, and then I'm going to put a reduced army here in Poland to make up for the fact that I blew that earlier. Luftwaffe replacements, let's see. I've got didn't lose a lot of air last turn, so I'm gonna go ahead and move that there. So I'll put those 2 replacements in place, and then strategic warfare replacements. We've got 2, so we can move that to there. So that's all of my replacements for the turn. There are no satellite replacements, so now I got to adjust the production table. And I've only got 12 resources going on here. So let me do that, and I'll come back and I'll show you what I've done, and then we'll go on to the directives. Okay, so this is what we've got. I've got 1 Wehrmacht replacement, 3 Luftwaffe, 2 strategic warfare, no, just the minimum in military directives, 2 in political, 2 in production, and 1 in consumer goods. And the reason for that will become fairly obvious in a second. So as for production directive, I'm going to play Volkssturm, which allows me to move the Wehrmacht replacement marker 2 boxes to the right. So I'm going to discard that. I'm going to use my 2 production directives, and I'm going to move that 2 boxes to the right. And then we have a political directive, and for the political directive, I'm going to play this Waffen-SS, and I can replace 1 regular army with a Panzer army if one's available. And definitely 1 is available. So I think what I'm going to do is let's replace this with a Panzer army down here. Actually, let's replace this because this has more planes coming up here in Kiev. Ooh, this is looking ugly. Okay. And then military directive, I'm not doing anything. So we move on to strategic warfare. We're into the first operations phase of the summer. So I'm rolling 2 dice. One of them will be gray, and let's see how many the allies are rolling here in 1944. They are rolling 4. So it's been a little while since I've played, so you'll have to bear with me a couple of times when I remind myself how certain rolls work. So I got 2 artillery. He got all of that. Let me just double check. First things first, I think I have to do a strategic event for that. That should be over here. Okay, so I got to do a strategic event for that. So let's start with that, taking a strategic event as a result of that. Coup attempt. If no areas in France or Belgium, Holland are disputed or controlled by the Allies. Okay. No areas in France. So none of those. That is not true. So 1 second. I got to just look it up. I think that icon means I put it on the bottom of the deck. 90% certain, but let me be certain. Okay, so yes, have confirmed that the way that I deal with that is I put that on the bottom of the deck and I don't draw a card to replace it. That's going to come up again later. That'll actually happen later at the end of the turn, probably. I think those 2 artillery for me are no effect, correct? And then he gets 1 hit for each air and 1 hit for that. So he's got 3 hits. And I have nothing. Wow. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I've got to reduce 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. I'm going to try to hold on to this for as long as I can, if I can. I don't know if that's wise or not, but that is what I'm doing. So now movement. So I got to shuffle some things around here. And we're going to start with movement inside of here. So let's move this guy back to defend Poland. And we'll move this guy up to defend there. And then, so that's it for, no, I think we need to strip Italy a little bit here. Oh, Lord, bad choices. Let's strip Italy a little bit here, just because with all that rough terrain and my generals, I actually have a pretty good situation there. So I'm sorry, that's all I'm going to do inside the front. So now I can move, outside the front. So I'm gonna move this guy from Italy to there. That's 1. I can move 5 because of this. So I can move that guy to there. And then I'm gonna move him to here. And then I'll move this guy to here. So that's 3. And 4. Both of these areas worry me a lot because of the terrain. Like I can fall back to a fort here in Sevastopol. Here I'll be falling back. Well, once it goes here, up top here, it's going to go quickly too. But at least I'm defending in rough terrain still. So bad choices. All right, so that is movement. I'm not going to do any movement of air. So now command. I need to sort of look. I've got a bunch of guys who are being questioned. So von Kukler's being questioned. Bush is being questioned. De Angelis is being questioned. So lots of people being questioned. So let's roll up here first. So von Kukler is going to be dismissed on a 5 or a 6, and Bush, sorry, a 4, 5, or 6, and Bush will be dismissed on a 5 and 6. So von Kukler is going to be, the guy up top is going to be the shaded die. So we are going to lose von Kukler. He is going to be dismissed. So hang on, let me get all that set up, and we'll come back when I've done with that fiddling around. All right, so that's taken care of. We've got a vacancy up here in Leningrad. So the last, I have two more to deal with. I've got modal uh, and DeAngelis. Actually, do I have two under? No, I've got a bunch under here. Ooh, lots of questions going on. All right, so we're gonna do modal and DeAngelis here. So modal is only going to be dismissed on a 6, and DeAngelis will be dismissed on a 4, 5, or 6. So the shaded is modal. Sorry, that going top to bottom tip is the sort of standard here. So sorry I didn't say that, but that was so modal will stick around, and DeAngelis is going to be sort of removed. So I'm gonna leave him there so I don't forget. So now I've got Hansen and Lindemann, and you know the top one is going to be the shaded die. So Lindemann is going to be dismissed. So let me get rid of those two generals and come back. All right, so none of those last two created a vacancy because they weren't in charge of army groups. But I'm slowly whittling away the amount of generals that I have. So now I have to fill that vacancy, and I am able to fill it. I need to fill it with, I think, going to be folks are coming from probably seniority 4 or 5 is my guess. Let me just double check, and we'll pick a general and go, and I'll come back and tell you what's going on. Okay, so as it turns out, I have to appoint a general who has who was a seniority 4 or better, because that's the highest seniority in my available generals. And I ended up putting Joachim Lemelson in charge there. He actually came from my activated general stack, but that's allowed. And he's going to allow me to roll 1 gray die instead of 1 white die in the combat. So hopefully that'll help slightly with matters up there. Okay, so that is command. Nothing going to happen on the Axis offensive. So now we move on to the Western offensive. So first things first is we are going to check for an Allied landing here in 1944. Summer fall. So there is going to be a landing because it is the summer. Priority is 18, 19, 20, which I think is going to bring about Overlord, if I remember this, Chris. So 18, 19. So they're going to land in Holland. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. So I am going to take my landing 1 marker and I'm going to place it in Holland. Let me just remind myself how landings work, and we're going to go from there. Okay. So I've placed the landing marker here. I have placed the Allied disc on that space there, moved the German disc there, placed the no offensive marker, but it has also reminded me that I actually need to appoint AG heads in both of these areas because I have 2 German armies in both of them. So hang on 1 second while I grab some generals for the Western Front. Okay, so a little bit of foreknowledge. It works to my favor there, but we've appointed von Arnim here in Belgium and Holland, and von Salmuth down there in southern France. It should be said, I don't have a lot of good options. Most of my options available only work on the Eastern Front, so I was in a little bit of trouble. And I'm actually just noticing that I need to roll for Bush here. So before we get going too far, let's roll to see if Bush is dismissed. He's not, thank goodness. I don't know if I could have taken that. Okay. Sorry, a little sloppy play here in the beginning, just kind of getting reoriented. Okay, so that landing is now complete. I have AGs down here in southern France, or in the West Front, as I need them to be. So now we do the Western offensive. So the only Western offensive that's going to be going on is here. Won't be happening here because of this no offensive marker. So we're going to remove that. and then we'll remember that so that'll be for next turn. So now we are going here. So let's find out what the Western Offensive looks like. 1944 attack, 2 air, and a strategic event. Interesting. So let's just double check. We've got von Wittgenhof and Kesselring. So Kesselring, I'm pretty certain, would have given me an extra die there. What does von Wittgenhof get me? I'm just looking to see if anybody, for example, cancels. No, he adds 1 white die to the combat. So we are going to suffer 2 plain results and a strategic event. So let's start by drawing the strategic event. 8th Air Force. If the US, okay, air naval control in the Germany box, -1. Unsurprising. Now we'll go into discards. Now we get 2 air hits. Roll 1 Western combat die for each. Wait a minute. Is that what I'm looking at here? I'm going to roll 1 Western combat die for each symbol. Subtract 1 from the air naval control if at least 1. Okay, so I'm rolling 2 dice. Okay, so if I read this correctly, I subtract 1 if at least 1. So the fact that I rolled 2 doesn't mean I reduce it by 2. I'm going to reduce it by 1. Except I'm going to do it on the proper front. I'm going to do it down here in the southern front. Okay, so, but on the other hand, they don't actually break through there in Italy, so I suppose that's a good thing. Okay. So now we move on to the Soviet offensive. This is where things are going to get, I think, crazily ugly. I guess that's technically here in both cases. Okay. So we'll draw a card, top to bottom, as usual. So, strategic event in the north there. Strategic warfare, -1. All right, well, that was going to happen anyway. Those blue events will happen anyway. That's why I say that was going to happen anyway. So that takes care of that. So far being very kind here. That, however, is not. So a reduction and 4 Soviet dice. So let me grab 4 Soviet dice here. And a reduction. So I don't think Lemelson. I've got Lemelson and von Kluge. Let me just remind myself what they offer me. Okay, so crucially, von Kluge allows me to cancel the reduction effect on that card. So I don't have to get rid of one of those armies, but I am rolling for. I am now rolling. So I get an extra white die for the terrain. And von Lemelson's effect is I roll 1 gray die instead of 1 white die. So I've got basically 1 gray die for this, 1 white die for this, and 1 white die for rough terrain against 4 Soviet dice. And now I can actually pick an active general. So let me do that and see where we're at. All right, so the active general, oops, hang on. Sorry, I had to go back because that general was only worked on the Western Front. So we're going to use Hans Valentine Hube. He is, if the Soviets roll a tank, I had +1 hit to my combat roll. Okay. Let's hope that the Soviets roll a bunch of tanks. Here we go. Well, they rolled 1 tank anyway. All right, so I've got a strategic event I have to deal with and an air hit I have to deal with. Or, sorry, a combat event I have to deal with. So let's do the combat event here. Hitler takes over command of army group. The U.S. if there's only one army in the count. Nope. I don't think the result... is going to be a victory, but let's double check. If the result is not a victory, we're going to dismiss Lemelson, which is going to kind of suck. So the Soviets. Oh shoot! I actually should have rolled one more die for the. Oh no! Sorry, my heir is down there at 1. That's my that's my leader, not my heir. Okay. So that is at 1. So let's see. So they get a hit for that because my that's at 1. So they ended up with 4 hits, and I ended up with 2 hits, 1 for this tank. So allied hits great. The activate AG applies 1 reduction or 1 retreat for every hit. Okay. So we are going to apply 1 hit, and we are going to retreat. So that's how we're going to satisfy all of that. So we lose. Oh, no, sorry, I didn't control that. So we lose that area. Lemelson would be questioned, but he's actually just going to be flat out dismissed. I'm going to put him down here. Actually, I think that should be relatively easy to find. So Lemelson is going to be dismissed. He's dismissed because of this, because it's a loss. Hitler takes control and start bribing some generals again to get that down, that unrest down, and he's dismissed. And then the Hubei ends up being questioned. So I'm gonna just leave I'm gonna leave the cards of question guys there for now, and it'll make it a little bit easier for me to go find them. So Lemelson is dismissed. Well, hang on a second. I completely screwed all of that up. Okay. One moment. I forgot I should have been doing that combat here, not here, because that one was the previous one. So hang on, let me put this all back to the way it was. Sorry about that. So where's Lemelson? His marker. Hang on, let me restore this and I'll come right back. Okay, so sorry about that. So sorry about that. Silly. Okay, so the combat is actually taking place here. So Von Klug gets rid of that special effect. So no reduction prior to the combat. Hoth's special effect, is I can change 1 hit result for a tank result. But that actually only applies in planes, and it would only happen in planes anyway. So that one actually has no effect. And then Hans Valentine Hubei is I'm gonna assign him as the leading general again. So same as before. So this is what I'm actually rolling, and I'm gonna go ahead and Actually, I can just keep this. I probably had 1 other white die, but it was a blank. But I think it's relatively fair to keep. It'll keep it simple if I keep this. Yeah. So basically, we have that combat event, which is Hitler takes over command of army group. So we're gonna end up losing Hoth instead of Lemelson. And we are going to apply 1 reduction. Oh, I better not do that. I gotta do this because otherwise I could end up in a situation where I'm unable to. And we're gonna have to retreat 1 for that. So this becomes disputed. Now we actually do lose because we no longer control that Belarus resource. That AG head has been dismissed, and Hubei ends up questioned. So kind of ends us up in a similar place, but just making sure that it's in the right area, at the expense of ignoring a white die. But that seemed like the simplest way to fix that. Okay, so then let's remember where I'm going to be this time. Okay, so now we're in the Ukraine. I'll try to remember that this time. So they're attacking with 4. They have no special, no specials there. So I've got a pretty good defense here. Let's see. Von Kluge allows me to ignore the reduction. That's not actually going to happen. Okay. Bush. Let me check Bush and assign a leading general. Okay, well, Ernst Busch's effect isn't really going to help much. He's kind of duplicative with von Kluge, I realize. And as it turns out, I don't actually have any generals that I can use because none of them match. None of them are allowed to operate in a river or in an eastern front on a river. So this is what the role actually ends up looking like. All right, so we have a combat event. Warsaw Uprising. If the Warsaw sector in Poland is not controlled by the... No. Roll 2 Western dice. Reduce 1 regular German army in Eastern Front for every hit result. Oy, oy, oy. When it rains, it pours. No. Oh my God. Wow. Holy cow. All right. Well, that just happened. And then we have... Stop. And then we have a tie. So, Allied Axis hits equals Allied hits, 1 reduction or 1 retreat. And then I could decide whether or not... I think I'm gonna apply the reduction. The only reason is because I kind of need to get a white cube in there just in case I need it. Oof. Okay, that's that. Now our last Soviet combat, 1944. Okay. So it's going to be 4 dice again. Von Kluge is going to cancel the reduction. So let me... let's see. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to pick a leading general, so let's just go see what modal gets me. Because that's the only thing that is going to matter here. Cancel any special effect on the combat card. Okay. So we have a gray die and a white die. And that is all against 4 Soviet dice. All right, that's actually a pretty good roll. So they have 4 hits and we have 3 hits. This counts as 2. That artillery counts as 2. So I think I'm going to retreat to Sevastopol rather than take the reduction, which is going to cause him to be questioned, right? 1 reduction, 2 reductions. Okay, he's going to be questioned, but he's only eliminated on a 6, so hopefully that'll be okay. All right, well, we managed to keep the Russian front from completely collapsing, but we've got to face all of that again in the second. So none of these are going to be are going to happen. So we're back around to strategic warfare for the second operations phase of summer 1944. So here I'm rolling basically 1 gray die. And the Allies are rolling 4 dice. Boy, this game gets angry at you towards the end, doesn't it? All right, so I got 1 hit. These are no effect. These are both 1 hit. So that takes that down to 0. Okay. Now we are doing the ally. Well, let's see. Movement. Okay, movement. Well, having seen, I say having seen where they're landing, but the truth is, that's not actually the case, because they could do another landing, which could end up here. I think I'm going to, well, they're not going to attack here this turn. So I'm going to, not going to do any movement within the fronts. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move him 1, 2 to get a little bit of a hastily erected defense there in Smolensk, or there in Belarus. Minsk, actually, I should say. Okay. That is movement command. So let's see. So I'm sure I've got a bunch of guys who are being questioned. Well, actually only 2, right? We've got this guy being questioned and this guy being questioned. So that'll be the shaded die, and that'll be the white die. So Hubei is dismissed because that's matches him. He's a 3, so he's dismissed. This guy is actually safe, however. But now I need to fill this vacancy in Belarus with somebody. Oof. All right, so we're gonna have Gotthard Heinrichi take over. We can re-roll up to 2 dice in the combat roll. Okay, let's see now. So that is now Axis offensive, which isn't happening, and then Western offensive. So first thing first, we're going to check for landing. There is a landing. 1820, 1917, 1820. So now they're going to land in northern France as well, opening a front in northern France as well. So let's see. So first things first, I place the landing marker there. I place the no Western offensive marker there. And then I got to roll to see where they're actually going to land. 3, so I think they land in, no, they land in Cannes. That's not where I wanted them to land. So there they go. They land in Cannes. And that is where that is. So, okay. So we've got 2 Axis combat pawns here. So they are going to be attacking twice. So we'll start down here in Italy. So I've got, well, let's draw and see what they've got first. Let's just see what's going on here. So they've got 2 air and a strategic event. So air naval control in Germany goes down by 1 again. When things start to go out of control, they really start to go out of control. So then I've got that plane result, roll 1 Western combat die. Just want to double check something. Let's see, this is, so I know what he does, von Wittgenhoff. Just want to make sure he doesn't like cancel, von Wittgenhoff doesn't cancel like one of those special effects. No. All right, so now we're rolling 2 of these dice, and none of them is an airplane. Okay. So that's that. Not attacking as much in Italy now, but now they're going to attack in Belgium, Holland. So 2 planes and then 3 dice. So let's move the Soviet dice down. 2 planes. So they're rolling 2 planes. So they got a plane result. So that is going to drop that to that. And then I have a gray die and a white die to begin with. So then I'm not as familiar with what we got going on here. So let me check this and we'll come back once I kind of know what I'm facing here. Okay, so I get to add 1 hit for every tank result. Runestedt doesn't help because he only helps if we're in planes. And I'm going to assign Kurt Student as the leading general, and so I'm going to roll 1 black die instead of a gray die. So basically we'll be rolling 1 white die and 1 black die for that, and they're attacking into a river, so I don't get any extra dice. They don't get 1 for that. So this is what we're looking at here, is this roll. Oh, ignore that. All right, so that's pretty good. So let's see. So they got 2 plane hits. 2 plane hits, sure. So first things first, they subtract 1. And then that second one is going to count as a hit. But I am going to win this combat. Plus 1 hit for every tank result. So I actually have 4, a result of 4. Oh, sorry, hang on. Yeah, so I have 4, they have 2. So we do end up winning that combat. No, I'm not the attacker. No retreat or reduction. Okay. So that, luckily, that takes care of the... So we hold on the Western Front for a turn. So that's good, I'm going to say. But now we move on to the Eastern Front. And we will see. I don't have a lot available here to hold on with. Okay. Starting up here. So they've got attack of 4. Get those all shuffled up. So they've got 4 dice, and we are still in rough terrain. So we have 3 white dice. Von Klug, he gets rid of the reduction. Lemels, let me remind myself what Lemelson does and pick a leading general if I can find one that works. All right. Lemelson is going to allow me to roll 1 gray die instead of 1 white die, and Renjulik is going to allow me to change 1 gray result for a great hit for a artillery. So I have to hope that I get a hit on that gray die. Okay. So that's what we're rolling here. Yes, I did get a hit there. Okay, so first things first, combat event. Flip the markers of the activated head of army group and leading general to their question side. Boy, it's life is rough in the German high command these days. So they got 4 hits and I got 2. So we are going to retreat and take a reduction. Retreat 1 and take a reduction. Can't afford to lose the entire army there. I've got to fall back to a place where I've got fewer fronts that I'm defending, boy. Boy, the Russians just, once they start pouring through, they pour through. Okay, now we're going to look at Belarus. I need to get a few like these where they don't do anything. That ain't going to be it. So they're rolling 4 dice. Von Klug will eliminate the reduction. Heinrichi. Well, let's deal with all of this. Okay, so I'm going to be able to re-roll up to 2 dice, and I can re-roll 1 die in the allied combat roll. In my case, I get to choose the result I want. In his case, I have to take the result. So this is what we're doing. All right. So let's do the combat event. And I might as well re-roll this. Hardly matters. And then I can re-roll 1 die. For me, oops, that's a hit. That's nothing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to lose this combat. If the status of Italy is not occupation, status of Italy is occupation. Move 1 satellite army from the game box to an Italian home area which is disputed or controlled by the Axis. From the game box. Does the game box mean like from out of play? Or, because I don't have any here, I'm going to assume that that means that you... Because I think it made me take them away from here when Italy was occupied. So I'm going to assume that that allows me to take one and place it there from the game box, meaning from essentially from out of play. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize. Didn't find anything in the rules when I searched for game box. So, okay, well, that will help a little bit, I guess, because I have to deal with 2 here. Wait. Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm placing it there, but that has nothing to do with anything. Okay, so I've got a reduction of 2 that I've got to deal with. So we're going to take a reduction and we're going to take a retreat. That's about the best I can do, I think, at this point. Okay. So now we're on to the Ukraine, where we have like last remaining Panzer army. So they're still rolling 4 dice. Von Klug is still getting rid of that reduction. I think Bush does something very similar. So let's see. I don't think I've got a leading general I can use because I think all of these guys, none of these guys can, oh, those guys are, these are the only 2 generals I have left and they can't defend in a river. Let me just confirm what Bush does. Roll 1 gray die. Yeah, he can cancel the special result. He's really duplicative with Von Klug, so he's not super helpful. All right, so we've got 1 Panzer army and all these guys. Well, we're still gonna, oh no, we're gonna tie. Okay, that's not terrible. So we've got well, we're probably gonna tie. We've got a combat event. The player who has rolled the event result may choose 1 general previously removed from play and add him to the generals entering play the following year. It must be 6 or lower, and he may not have a misfortune rule. So I'm going to assume that when they say the player who rolled the event, it would be sort of that relates to multiplayer. It's not essentially the Soviets. So Let me just find a general that I want with seniority 6 or lower. Did it? Wait, 6 or lower, did it say? Or lower than 6? Okay, 6 or lower, and he may not have misfortune. Well, we're going to be recalling Erich von Manstein to active duty from disgrace. So we'll put him there, and we will put him in the generals who can enter next turn. That's all of those guys there. Okay. Recalling him to active duty. Okay. And now we have it's river, so that tank doesn't count as 2, but artillery counts as 2. So we've got a tie. So 3-3. 1 reduction or 1 retreat. So I think, unfortunately, I have to take that reduction and hold on for a second here. Retreating back. Is that true? No, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to take the retreat back, because then I'm fighting. I've got tanks and I'm fighting in the plains. So maybe that will, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Oh no, but if I do that, then everybody's going to get questioned. I'm just going to take the reduction. If everybody gets questioned, I'm just going to run out of generals. Although, actually, I don't really... I'm just going to ping pong around here. I haven't been really happy with Bush anyway. So, Okay, the AG head is going to be questioned. Okay. Okie dokie. So we're not going to take the retreat there. Okay, so that's that. So now we are doing our last combat, which is in the Black Sea. Four. So they've got 4. We've got this gray die and the white die. The 4 fortified space, Sevastopol, unfortunately doesn't help me at all. It would have helped this. It helps the Soviets when they're on defense, but it doesn't help me at all. So let me just double check all this and figure out what I'm doing. Turns out I'm not doing much, because modal's effect doesn't really help us at all. Got too much duplication of that going on. Frankly, that's been kind of bad job of me, sort of with him in command of Obi Ost. All these guys who cancel that effect are pretty useless down here. So basically, we are just rolling this and crossing our fingers. Okay. Wow. Lucky again. So we've got a combat event again. No retreat. If the axis is the attacker or the converse, no. The axis action may not retreat. Apply all hits as reductions and then move that there. So this is going to be a tie, right? I've got 3 hits to 3 hits, so I can apply a retreat or a reduction is kind of what it says there. But I actually can't do that, so I have to apply the reduction. So we do that. So that is the end of the Soviet offensive. Sorry, I didn't move that. So no military directive to check. Supply, victory, none of that applies. So with that, we are going to move on to fall of 1944. I do not have to worry about Allied landings. I'm going to remove this, however, because they can now, but I do have 2 fronts on the west that are now active. So I'm facing a pretty grim situation at this point. So anyway, we will be back next time with the fall of 1944. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, it'd be great if you could leave a like, or definitely comment if you see things I'm doing wrong. People have already started doing that on some of the earlier videos. It's super helpful for me and for others to learn the game and get some of the sort of more nuanced stuff correct. If you enjoy the series, if you're enjoying the channel, it'd be great if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we produce new content. But with that, I will say goodbye, and we will see you next time on Agility Snips Gaming Table.